Potentially catastrophic impact such arrangements can have on children.
A child arrives alone in the UK. She's picked up by a family she doesn't know. Once out of the airport, as far as the authorities are concerned, she disappears. There is no promised better life, no school, just hard work.
Move! Shift! Nonsense, stupid, rubbish girl!
Charities believe thousands of children arrive every year in the UK to be fostered privately. Some are well looked after, but for the vast majority, what happens to them is a mystery. This case, though, has revealed the fate of 2 such children. Magali Bamu told the court she was sent to London at the age of 13 to live with a family she'd never met. She was made to cook, clean, look after the children and didn't go to school. Eric Bakubi was also privately fostered by someone he wasn't related to, and at the age of 24 was allowed to become the main carer for 2 teenage girls he said were his sisters, a claim Newsnight has discovered was false. But why was Eric Bakubi allowed to foster 2 girls aged 15 and 16? As a child himself, he'd been looked after by a family friend before going into local authority foster care in Camden. He was last in touch with social services there in early 2007. That same year, Hackney, where he was briefly living, approved the private fostering arrangement, even though by then he already had 3 criminal convictions, one for having a knife in a public place. Hackney told us they made all relevant checks, as did Barking and Dagenham, where the girls had originally been staying. This man, who's asked to be called Bibi, is Eric's cousin. The girls were in fact Bibi's sisters, brought from the Congo to live with him. In 2007, Eric told social services that Bibi hit them, allegations later shown to be false. Eric, though, became their main carer after telling the council he was their brother. These 2 girls were not his sisters, but he said they were.
Well, they wasn't his sister, they was his cousin.
Why do you think social services allowed your sisters to go and live with Eric?
They don't know what they're doing, that's what I can say.
Many children from diverse backgrounds come to the UK to be looked after by their extended families and thrive. Others, though, become commodities, moved across borders and exploited. The death of Victoria Climbié in the year 2000 threw the unregulated nature of private fostering arrangements into sharp focus. The inquiry into her death heard that she came here with her great-aunt on a false passport, didn't go to school and was used for benefit fraud. Finally, she was beaten and starved to death.
You, go through.
New regulations introduced in 2005 required private foster carers to register with the local authorities. But 7 years on, Newsnight has learned that in many cases this simply isn't happening. Charities say as many as 10,000 children may be privately fostered. But official figures show there are 1,500 in England, just over 1,000 in Scotland, 68 in Wales, and just 6 in Northern Ireland. So as many as 75% may be unregistered, unknown to social services, and unsupervised by the child protection system.
Currently, what will happen is a child will come in on a visitor visa with either a parent or a relative. They will then be left with a relative, friend, whomever, and the other adult who brought them will go back to country of origin. The child will then overstay their visitor visa. They will stay beyond 6 months, maybe 3 years, maybe 10 years. We've had cases that they've been in the UK. They may be imprisoned in the home or their movement completely circumscribed and they will be home helps or worse. We've had cases of extreme sexual abuse, extreme physical abuse with these children. And if they are in school, no one asks questions about their immigration status.
What are your good memories? And that's exactly what happened to Gabriella. Sent to London from Jamaica at the age of 12, her great-uncle picked her up from the airport and took her to a family she didn't know. Then he left.
He told me he's going to come back, but he didn't.
And did you know these friends? Had you ever met them before?
No. He just told me they're his friends. I was crying. At least every night I was crying. I was thinking, what is this? And it wasn't good.
How safe did you feel in this house? Sorry, if you'd like to stop for a moment.
I wasn't safe. I was nowhere near safe. I used to lock myself in because I used to be there by myself most of the time when I come in.
And did the woman hurt you?
She would hit me.
Unlike some children, Gabriella did eventually go to school, but no one tried to find out how she was living or who with. How much do you think the agenda has actually Lisa Nandy is a Labour member of the Education Select Committee. She fears a combination of ideology and budget cuts means even the limited progress made since the death of Victoria Climbié is being reversed.
We know since 2005, with a lot of families struggling, that the number of children that we know about in private fostering placements has risen by over 100%. So we know that this is a growing phenomenon, and at the same time we know that children's services have taken huge cuts to their budget, and the government has pursued a course of watering down the duty to cooperate amongst agencies, which did so much to improve the situation post the Victoria Climbié case. The truth is, it's pretty apparent we're moving in the wrong direction. We should be putting more focus and resources into changing the culture to keep children safe, and instead we're doing less.
In court, in her defence, Magali Bamu spoke about the damaging impact of her time being privately fostered. We also know that Eric Bakubi, who now faces life in prison for killing a child, was both privately fostered and allowed to foster 2 teenage girls. The case of Bamu and Bakubi, though unique in its brutality, also shines a light on a system which still allows children to vanish into a world free from official oversight, where thousands remain hidden in plain view.
Well, joining us now from Birmingham is Hilton Dawson, Chief Executive of the British Association of Social Workers. And Mr Dawson, talk us through your concerns about this private fostering.
Yeah, I think it's been well revealed by your film that we believe that there are thousands of children. We have no idea how many. You quote something like 10,000. It could easily be 20,000 children in this country who have no protection, who aren't living with their parents, who may be living in good circumstances, but some of whom may be living in disastrous ones.
Yeah, I suppose it is true that there may be some who, you know, teenagers get into trouble, go and live with a family friend for a while, and that's probably a good thing for them.
Indeed.
So how do you make sure you don't stop that while you stop some of this?
I have no idea why successive governments haven't brought in a simple registration system where one agency would have a particular role to make sure that people who were interested legitimately in private fostering registered, were checked out, were given training, and were given support for what is a very, very important job. It's no good simply to blame this government. The previous government, and I was a backbencher under it, had at least 3 opportunities to amend legislation to bring such a system in.
Is that what it would take? Would it actually take an amendment or a new legislation in order to do this?
So there would be a need to change the legislation. But that could be done very easily. It's the political will that's lacking. I don't even think there would need to be a huge investment. But what there needs to be a focus and a clear determination to protect these children.
Isn't one of the problems, and I know you must come across this all the time in your work, that there is no amount of regulation or legislation or indeed work by social workers which can actually regulate human wickedness?
That's absolutely the case, but you can help by putting effective systems in place, you can ensure that, as I say, the people who do properly want to do private fostering and want to provide decent circumstances for children whose parents legitimately need to have them looked after, in which they can get support, in where you can target those who are out to exploit and abuse and vilely mistreat children.
Mr. Dawson, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Now, the United Nations Security Council, in an unusual display